Before television, before the internet, there was one story every South African child knew by heart. The tale of a brave little dog named Jock. Born in the late 1800s, Jock was more than just a dog. He was a companion, a protector and a legend of the South African Bushveld. A small but fearless spirit in a land of towering elephants, prowling leopards and endless golden grass that stretched beneath the African sun. For generations, Jock's adventures have been shared around campfires, whispered in classrooms, and retold at kitchen tables. Stories that stirred laughter, tears, and a deep, lasting sense of wonder. Today we revisit that story. A story of loyalty, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog, set against the wild heart of South Africa. Our journey begins in Barberton, during the fevered days of the 1880s gold rush. The town pulsed with life. Prospectors, transport riders, and dreamers filled the dusty streets, chasing fortune and survival. Ox wagons groaned under heavy loads of supplies. Gold pans glittered in the streams, and the air shimmered with heat, hope, and the promise of discovery. Into this restless world stepped a young South African named James Percy Fitzpatrick. After his father's death in 1880, he left college to support his family. He began as a clerk in Cape Town, but adventure soon called him north. By 1884, Fitzpatrick had made his way to the goldfields of the eastern Transvaal, working as a storeman, prospector's assistant, journalist and ox-wagon transport rider on the rough road between Lourenço Marques, modern-day Maputo, capital of Mozambique, Lydenburg and Barberton. It was during those wild, unpredictable years, among fortune seekers, wagon trails and the untamed Bushveld, that the real stories behind Jock of the Bushveld were born. Amid the chaos of the gold rush, the rivalries, the dust, and the ever-present danger of the wild, a small, trembling pup appeared. The runt of the litter, left behind near the wagons, part Staffordshire bull terrier, small but sturdy, with eyes full of fight and heart. Fitzpatrick scooped him up, and in that quiet moment, the future hero of the Bushveld found his master. This little dog, who would come to be known as Jock, was fearless, curious, and fiercely loyal. From the gold-dusted streets of Barberton to the deep forests beyond, Jock met every adventure head-on, becoming the steadfast companion who would share every hardship of the Transvaal Bushveld. Life on the frontier was unforgiving. Dusty roads stretched for miles beneath a relentless sun. Ox wagons groaned under their loads, and in the darkness beyond the campfires, wild eyes watched from the shadows. Every journey was a test of endurance, every night a lesson in patience and courage. As Percy's ox wagon rode from Lydenburg to Pilgrim's Rest, in the heart of what is now Mpumalanga, Jock quickly proved he was no ordinary dog. Small in size but fearless in spirit, he faced the dangers of the bush with courage far beyond his years. Pilgrim's Rest, a bustling gold mining town nestled in the hills, teemed with life. The clatter of gold pans, the groan of wagons, and the chatter of prospectors chasing fortune filled the narrow streets. Dust swirled in the sun, and the scent of smoke and campfires hung in the air. For Jock, it was a new world to explore, full of scents, sounds, and surprises. Yet through it all he remained vigilant, guiding the wagon along rocky trails and watching over Percy with unwavering loyalty. Along the dense kloofs and rocky ridges of the Drakensberg foothills, baboons often raided wagons and camps in search of food. Time and again, Jock confronted them with a bark and a snap, defending Percy's provisions with unshakable loyalty. Even the most seasoned transport riders paused in admiration at the little dog standing his ground against the wild. Hunting trips across the grasslands near the Oliphant's River gave Jock the chance to show his intelligence and agility. He tracked game, retrieved it safely, and navigated sudden storms with instinctive skill. But it was his loyalty that left the deepest impression. No matter the dust, the heat, or the long, lonely nights beneath the star-filled veldt, Jock never strayed from Percy's side. From the rolling hills near Sabi to the dense bush of the Witwatersrand, Jock became more than a dog. He was a symbol of courage, devotion, and the unbreakable bond between man and animal. Wherever the ox wagon rolled, Jock was there, ready to meet every challenge along the trail. Their journey continued north to Petersburg, now Polokwane, a growing town linked to the wider region by the Pretoria-Petersburg Railway. The railway was a lifeline for prospectors and transport riders alike, carrying goods, messages and hope across the dusty Transvaal plains. From Petersburg, Percy and Jock travelled across the goldfields around Leidstop, a bustling mining camp where every road echoed with the creak of wagons and the clatter of picks and pans. One of the most challenging stretches of the trail took them up Long Tom Pass, a winding climb through the misty peaks and deep valleys of the Mpumalanga escarpment. Named for the massive cannons of the gold rush era, the pass was steep, treacherous, and often shrouded in clouds. Ox-wagon wheels struggled for purchase on the rocky path, and every step demanded care. Along the way, the trail skirted the spectacular Lisbon Falls, where cascading waters tumbled over rocky cliffs, and mist swirled through the surrounding forest. For Percy, it was a breathtaking sight. For Jock, it was just another obstacle to navigate, bounding ahead along narrow ledges, sniffing out safe footholds, and barking warnings whenever the wagon veered too close to a cliff edge. His courage never faltered, even as wind howled and mist thickened around them. Travellers marvelled at the little dog who seemed to carry the spirit of the mountains themselves. Through rain, fog, and dizzying heights, Jock remained a steadfast companion, a reminder that even on the most perilous paths, loyalty and courage could see you through. Hunting trips, river crossings, and treacherous paths along the R37 and R532 demanded every ounce of Jock's intelligence and loyalty. He alerted Percy to hidden dangers, retrieved game, and even guided stray oxen back to the wagon, proving again and again that bravery is not measured by size. Traversing the Lowveld down towards Delagoa Bay, they faced long, dusty plains and sudden, fierce thunderstorms. In Matsulu, Jock's instincts saved the wagon from potential disaster. Along the narrow paths, he remained ever vigilant, exploring ahead, barking warnings and keeping watch beneath the vast African sky. And long after the adventures had passed, when the trail finally wound back toward home, Jock's story endured in Amanzi, where Percy would remember and record their journeys. From the foothills of the Marconia Mountains to the distant coast, Jock had become more than a companion. He was a hero, a symbol of loyalty, courage, and the enduring spirit of the South African Bushveld. Long before the pages of Jock of the Bushveld were printed and read by children across South Africa, these stories lived in the evenings of the Fitzpatrick household. Percy Fitzpatrick would gather his 3 children, affectionately called the Lickle people, around the fire and recount the adventures of Jock. He told them of the tiny dog who had faced baboons in the cliffs, barked warnings at prowling leopards, guided ox wagons across rivers, and braved the misty heights of Long Tom Pass. He painted the Bushveld in vivid detail, dusty trails, golden grass, and distant mountains, all the while bringing life to the courage, loyalty, and humour of his little dog. For his children, these tales were more than bedtime stories. They were lessons in courage, devotion, and the spirit of the African wilderness. Jock was their hero, a small dog with a mighty heart, and through their laughter, gasps of suspense, and wide-eyed wonder, Percy kept the Bushveld alive in their imaginations. Percy's tales of Jock might have remained family stories, if not for a bit of encouragement from one of the greatest storytellers of the age. During a trip to London, Percy met Rudyard Kipling, the author of The Jungle Book. Kipling was impressed by the vivid adventures and characters of Jock, and he urged Percy to write them down. "Children must know this dog," Kipling reportedly said. Inspired by Kipling's words, Fitzpatrick committed the stories to paper, transforming personal anecdotes into a book that would become a timeless part of South African literature. When Jock of the Bushveld was first published in 1907, it captured the hearts of readers immediately, and it has never been out of print since. Percy's tales of the fearless little dog, his adventures across the Transvaal, and his unshakable bond with his master resonated with children and adults alike, cementing Jock as a beloved hero of the Bushveld. The book became a publishing phenomenon. It was translated into Afrikaans as Jock van die Bushveld, as well as into other languages, ensuring that Jock's adventures reached audiences far beyond his original readers. For generations, South African children grew up laughing, gasping and cheering for the little dog who stood up to baboons, guided wagons across rivers, and braved the wild Bushveld. Every great adventure comes to an end, and for Jock, the faithful little dog of the Transvaal, that moment eventually arrived. After years of incredible journeys, Jock grew old. He no longer chased the shadows through the tall grass, nor sprang at danger with that fearless heart, but his eyes still shone with the same devotion, steady, trusting, and true. Then one day, when the world was calm and ordinary, fate struck a cruel blow, a gunshot, sudden, sharp, thoughtless. A man protecting his chickens saw a shape in the dusk. He never knew it was Jock. Percy mourned deeply. Percy Fitzpatrick went on to become a respected politician, author and statesman, but he never forgot the lessons of courage, loyalty and friendship that Jock had taught him. More than a century after his adventures, Jock's spirit can still be felt across the South African Bushveld. Travellers can follow the Jock Trail, retracing the route of Percy Fitzpatrick and his little dog through Barberton, the Marconia Mountains, Sabi, Pilgrim's Rest and beyond. Walking or driving along these paths, it's easy to imagine Jock bounding ahead, alert, fearless and ever faithful, guiding his master through the wild landscape. In Pilgrim's Rest, a statue of Jock stands proudly, and the Mac Memorial in the Sabi region honours Jock and the old wagon routes, featuring a wagon wheel at its centre as a focal point. Percy passed away in 1931 and was laid to rest at the Lookout, overlooking the Sundays River Valley in the Eastern Cape, the very place he had built as a tribute to his beloved home and memories. The burial site, marked by sweeping views and peaceful solitude, has since been declared a national monument, with Fitzpatrick's wife and children resting beside him. Jock may have been small in size, but his heart and spirit were enormous. Through every adventure, every challenge, and every tale told around the family fire, he became timeless, a symbol of the enduring bond between man, dog, and the wild beauty of the South African Bushveld. And so, for generations past, present and future, the story of Jock of the Bushveld lives on, fearless, loyal, and unforgettable.